Well, I'm here with Joan Pope, musician, artist, video editor, collagist, etc. Um, Looking forward to talking about a bunch of stuff about the sacred, about NFTs in a non-annoying way, which is rare. So thanks for joining me. I want to just start off by asking you about your coffee habits, if you have any. Just that's the icebreaker that I usually start with.
Okay. I mean, I'm pretty easy to please. It's just usually like black with sugar. I use just like an electric percolator, and that's it really. I probably drink way too much coffee. It should probably like cut down a little. Um, I've actually had periods of time where I have just like completely cut it out. And once I get over those, like the withdrawal and like it's like I even feel like depressed when I'm not drinking coffee. But once I
Hmm.
get over that, I actually feel amazing. So it's like I just end up going back to it purely because I like the ritual of like making it in the morning and like
Totally.
drinking it and even like the social aspect of coffee, I guess. It's like something I do with other people, like go out for coffee.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, I actually feel amazing when I'm not drinking coffee on the regular, but I always end up going back to it because it's good.
Yeah, it's delicious. I've heard lore of this state that you speak of, but I've not tried venturing there. I'm a little bit scared.
It's a little brutal at first, it's like you'll want to give up, but if you
Mhm.
can kind of make it over that hump, it's actually amazing. Like my energy level is actually just better. I sleep better. Like coffee, like I don't know, like I guess it kind of like fucks me up because it's like you have that crash. So it's like I'll feel like tired at like different parts of the day. But also when I go back to coffee, it's like rocket fuel. Like
Mhm.
so I'll go a few months sometimes without drinking coffee and then I go back to it. It's just like, oh my God.
I feel like I'm like maybe the other way where like I've gotten to the point where like there's no crash and I like drink it as water, and so I feel like I might have two humps of brutality to get over. But uh, anyway, I just need to know who you are on that level.
Judging me based on my coffee habits.
No judgment, just getting to know who you are. I have a bunch of stuff here that's like kind of all over the place, and uh, I guess I wanted to start off by asking about like the multidisciplinary aspect of your work, because like I know that you sort of like do collage between like different medias even, and like you're doing music, you're doing visual art, video, and I read something that you said about like that being alchemy to you, and I also heard you once say like like the occult stuff is best if you sort of like don't talk about that much, and I really respect that and want to sort of be on that uh, you conversation here. So how do you think about it as alchemy without us diving too much into your uh, you know practice?
Well, I guess it's like so much of my art, like sometimes people are like, you produce a lot of stuff. Like, how
Hmm.
do you do that? And I was like, it comes really from the energy, like transforming this like depression, grief, like all those sort of negative emotions. And, just like all these like traumatic things that have happened and whatever. It's like I reached a point in my life where I was like, I really do not want to be depressed anymore. Like I feel
Hmm.
like I wasted so much of my youth and like younger years like being depressed and like I fucking hate that. Like that
Yeah.
sucks. Like so it's like I kind of turned that depression into like rage and then using it's like and I don't want to walk around like an angry person. I'm not really an angry person, but it's like I started to just hate the depression and then transform that anger into something beautiful. So it's like this process of like, okay, it's this dark depression and then it's like on fire. It's just like I blow it up into this rage. And then it's like, okay, now I have to make it into something that I can translate into something beautiful and share with other people. And, that kind of like ties into the whole like the sacred aspect, is the
Mhm.
sharing of the all of these things. Like I don't know that I mean, yeah, I make art for myself, like this, it's sort of this emotional process, this catharsis, but it's like I also make it to be shared and have like other people experience it. Like to me, that's actually the best part. Like
Mhm.
someone might actually connect to it and say, I get it. I feel what you feel. And I'm always trying to like connect to art on that level. Like when I love art and music and enjoying other people's stuff. And the reason I do is because it's like, oh, that resonates with me on an emotional level or like a spiritual level. It inspires me. And I want to do that for other people. And, I think I do. I've gotten some really great feedback. And it's like, okay, this is why I do it. Like, it's not always like the most profitable like thing. It's like, just like years of like debt because it's like I made bad choices. Decided to pursue art instead of like, whatever, but so be it.
I didn't really pick up on any sort of like depression or anything, but that's an interesting bit to like be aware of now. And so I was thinking about this the like cliche of like I make art because I have to, and like in that context of like working through something with art and the process of art, like I understand that, but I've always hated that sort of explanation for why one would do art.
I
Do you?
I know what you mean. Okay,
Mhm.
like I know what you mean, but I swear I did not even like choose this. Like I
Mhm.
never thought that I would do this at all. But it's kind of the thing that other people thought I would do. Like, as I was growing up, like I wanted to be a history teacher. Like,
Mhm.
and I really thought that that's like what I was gonna do. And then I tried like different things like in my adult life. Like I was doing social work, I was working in a library. Like I kept trying these all these different paths. This is the only thing that stuck. It's like this is like the path that like opened for me, and now I'm on it, and I'm going to just continue on it because it's the only
Mhm.
one that worked. Like I kept going down these other roads, and it just I'd get like turned around and like, you know, derailed. So this like I feel like I didn't really choose it. Like it chose me, and I'm going with it.
Gotcha. Do you feel like you ever like lose momentum with your practice, or do you sort of feel the need to pursue it for, I mean, these reasons of like working through things?
Well, I mean, there's definitely like ups and downs. Like sometimes I just like feel it more than others, I guess, like in terms of inspiration. But I became very determined. Like a few years ago, I really was just like, you have to keep doing it, even if you
Mhm.
do not want to. And that's like how you actually just improve, how as your actual the technical skills improve, but also just emotionally. So I really try every single day to produce something, even if I'm just so tired, not in the mood. I've been working all day, like on a computer. I still try to like do something for myself because this is like what I do. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's like, yeah, maybe like what I made that day is not that great, but that's how you get to the next level. I really kind of like, I make most of my living as like a video editor. And like sometimes the stuff I work on isn't necessarily like that cool or like artistic. It might be like
Mhm.
more commercial stuff. But when I started like learning how to edit, I just was like, every single day, I'm going to do this until it becomes my job. Until
Mhm.
like I start getting paid for this, like I'm going to just keep doing it like it's my job until it is my job. And it's like I actually really like, I like what I do. I'm happy. It's like it works. It's like allows me the freedom to still pursue the things that I want to pursue. And a lot of projects I work on are actually really cool. So, it works out.
Interesting. I also didn't realize that the video editing was like sort of the utility there. Interesting. Uh, well, I guess so I'm curious in terms of like, like that's something I admire is like your daily commitment, and like I like how you describe it as religious. And I'm somebody that's like identified as atheist since I was like a baby, essentially. But I feel like it's also not in the religious sense that I would take issue with. But how much does your process change? Because I feel like you're always looking for new ways, like new mediums, new approaches. So like, is there like a rate at which it sort of switches around, or sort of like how different does it get?
I guess like I don't know, like it's not really something I think of consciously. Like, it's like I do the collage stuff. Like, I used to do a lot of analog collage. Now it's mostly digital just because of like space. Like when you're doing analog collage, it's like I have an insane collection of books, like, because that's where I'm like sourcing all the stuff. And it's like I don't have room for any more books. Like I can't, like, until I like buy a house that has a big room for a library, I
Hmm.
just can't do it. So I'm mostly digital now and I do collage. And so I kind of like rotate like whatever I'm feeling. Like I definitely try to do like a lot of like one collage every day if possible. Sometimes it's like I don't finish it and it goes the next day. And I love doing like video and I make like these like stop motion collage videos and they're really fun. But sometimes I'm like, I'm just tired of looking at like Premiere and After Effects. So I don't necessarily do video for fun as much as maybe I want to. And I guess music, that's more like when I'm feeling it. Like that I don't push as much. Like I have to like be in the mood for it. And like sometimes I might go like a couple months and not touch anything. Like it just whatever. And then all of a sudden, like I'll release like 3 albums in like 2 weeks. So it's just with music, it's a little more volatile, I guess, and less
Hmm.
consistent. Um, and then it's like I'm just always looking for new things. Like last year I did like this zine that was like AR enabled. So if you
Awesome.
downloaded this app, like, so you'd buy the zine, you'd get the zine, and then there's an AR app that you could download for free. And then if you scanned each page, like the page would come to life, like the new art would like emerge, or like maybe like a poem or music would start playing or whatever. And it was like, I just want to like fuck around with this technology.
Hmm.
It's kind of new and it's cool, like there's different possibilities, but at the same time it's like not quite there yet, like what I want to do. And like I guess maybe even what my technical skills allow, it's like not exactly like how I envisioned it, but it's somewhere. Like before I was just like messing around with like doing like some VR video, and like that's something I wanted to always like fuck
Hmm.
around with, VR video. But the thing is, like most people that I know, like in my world, they don't have VR headsets, so they
Right.
can't
Yeah.
really enjoy it. So it's like I'm making this for nobody.
Totally. And I feel like the people that are in that world like are maybe able to do it kind of effortlessly because they're like little babies that have Oculuses somehow. But
Right.
so like yeah, that's interesting. So when you're getting into like AR, um, just on like a practical level, what's your way of like trying to acquire those skills? Like reading things or YouTube or
Yeah,
just
I guess just YouTube or like experimenting. Like the service that I was using was called like RAR.io or something. And it's like, I pay for the service and you construct like the experience in their like program. And so you could like layer different images. You could like have it so like it trigger, a video or a song. Like some of the pages, like I was able to like, you'd scan it and a video would pop up. So it was really cool. And it's like I usually just like dive in. Like I
Mhm.
don't really, my husband's always just like, you gotta do tutorials. Like, and I'm just like, no, I'm good. Like I'm gonna just figure it out. He's like, if you do the tutorial, you will be able to do more.
Um, yeah, it's funny. I'll fiddle around in Photoshop and like I have no skills whatsoever, and I'll eventually come up with something cool from doing something so many times that's like completely fucked up. But my wife is also like, you should actually do a tutorial, and I'm like,
Right.
I won't. And so yeah, I have some sort of aversion to that as well.
When I
Yeah.
need to do a tutorial, I'll do a tutorial. I mean, it's like it happens. Like sometimes it's like in video editing. Like I learned like myself. People ask me, they're like, did you go to school for that? I was like, no. I was like, I just started using the program, and like when I wanted to do something that I didn't know how to do, I just looked it up on YouTube or Google. Like you have so much free resources out there
Totally,
that
yeah.
like you can teach this to yourself, but you're not gonna learn it if you just like open it once a month. And if like you sit in front of Premiere only like 6 times a year or something, it's like you're not going to learn the program. You have
Yeah,
to try and like fuck around with it every single day. And like that's how I learned it. Like, it's like I just every single day I was messing around, making stuff, and now I'm a
for sure.
professional video editor. So that's.
Well, it's reassuring for me. So let me see here. I guess like a question I've been asking myself that I sort of wanted you to weigh in on. That's kind of like maybe too broadly put, but it's should musician or should artists be business savvy basically? And I sort of have like this aversion to being business savvy, and I know that it's at my own expense, but like I've also seen various people, and I won't name names, who are just so like unpleasant to like people on the internet, like who like are essentially saying, "I like what you do," and they're like, "Yeah, why aren't you paying me for it?" And it's like, whoa,
Oh,
um,
yeah, no,
and it's
that's
so I'm when these NFT things come about, I'm like, this is your opportunity to like make a bunch of money if that's what you're like so worked up about. But do you feel like we should sort of move towards like a more like I don't know, like this neo bohemian thing of like actually being able to like be immersed like you are?
well, okay, so I'm
And
not
should is a strong
I'm
word, but
not business savvy, and like, in the whole like NFT world, it's like everyone's just like one of the main like aversions I think people have of like with that particular scene is like the shilling of the NFTs. Like they
Mhm.
don't like that it's constantly like buy my shit, buy my shit. So I don't like that, and I try to just, it's like if people want to support my work, they can figure out how to do it. Like
Mhm.
I don't like to really be in your face about it. It's like if you like my music, you know where to find me on Bandcamp. Like it's
Yeah,
there, I'll post a link if I'm like releasing something, but it's not like buy my shit every day because it's
right.
like it's just not cool. And if someone wants to support your work, they will. And like they'll, sometimes they even ask, like, how can I support your work? Like, do you sell prints? Like, what do you have books? Like, what is it? So I have like things that are maybe available for people to support my work, but it's hard. Like I don't really do that many like collage commissions anymore. Like I was doing like a lot of album art and stuff like that. And I just don't really like to do it. Like
Mhm.
I sometimes will still do it, but something about it, it just like ruins it. Like so I
Yeah.
don't really do that for money anymore. Video I will do because I'm like that's more like a skill that I feel okay with like being compensated for,
Hmm.
because it's like this more like technical thing, I guess. And there is like creativity, and people hire me for the creative vision, but it's like you're also like hiring me for the technical thing. So I guess on some level
Hmm.
like that makes sense. With NFTs, it's like this is a way that you can like patronize an artist. Like this is a way that you can support someone that you really like. And yeah, I know that some people think it's like stupid, like, oh, I'm gonna just like buy a JPEG and it's just I can just download your art. And it's just
Hmm.
like, okay, yes, you can. I understand why you think this is stupid, but it's like you're supporting an artist that you like. Like it's just that, to me it's that simple. It's like if you like my work, you get to like own this for your NFT gallery or whatever.
Hmm.
You just say like I supported this artist. Like it's like a public record of like I patronized this artist. And it's like people used to do that. Like why is that not
Right.
cool? Like it's like it would be awesome. Like I mean, it would be great if I could make my living off my art. Like,
Hmm.
and then because that frees me up to make more art. I don't have to
Yeah.
like take on these like shitty like jobs where I'm like making some like commercial or something. Like, it's like if I could just spend more time making art and, make money off that, it's like, that's awesome. And I don't have to worry. It's like about like paying my rent or like buying food. Like, I don't want to have to live like so close to
Yeah.
like the line of like, shit, like, can I actually like pay to survive? Like, I want to earn like a decent living. Like, so
Hmm.
NFTs are like a way to do that.
Yeah. And I guess like, yeah, I'm curious, like also like having that sort of like sense of like, if I don't do this, then this, like that, like sort of like not fearful, but like like just a sort of low grade worry, um, or like dedicating part of your bandwidth to like marketing. Do you feel like, I mean, with the marketing thing, do you feel like that has a negative impact on art on some level, or do you think that that's just a story that I'm telling myself?
I mean, I don't know. It depends. Like, it's like when I like post on social media, it's like I'm just like posting my art, but it's like, is it marketing or
Hmm.
is it just like me sharing the content or like, where's the line of like
True.
when this becomes marketing? And it's just like, yeah, like I kind of have like a brand, like, like this multimedia project, I guess, is like a brand. And I don't really think of it that way, but I could see how other people might see it that
Hmm.
way. And it's just like, this is my art project. And I use social media as just like part of it. Like this, so like the sharing, like through these different channels, it's like, that's like part of the art. Like to me, that's when it's complete. When
Hmm.
I like hit
Yeah.
tweet, like that's actually like the like completion of the work. Like, because now it's out there and it's being shared and experienced by other people. Like if it's just like on my like hard drive,
Hmm.
who cares? It's like, that's what the whole like, is it for me shit. Like I think it's a lie when people say I make art for me. Like it's like, no, I think you make it to share with other people. Like
For
that's
sure. Yeah.
that's the point. Like I think that's the point of art.
I guess the line that I'm drawing for marketing is like when it's sort of like systematized and like you say things like my funnel or like my EPK or something like that type of like corporate-ish language.
No, 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 no.
Um, but at the same time, I see people being in some ways effective using that type of like mentality. But like I don't know if it's my own aesthetic aversion to sort of any sort of corporatized language. But yeah, I don't know. I imagine that it is negatively impacting art when people are doing that. But like I also have a sort of view that's more aligned with yours. I think.
I mean, maybe I'd be more financially successful if I did that, but
Hmm.
I just like I don't even know what EKG or whatever you just said is.
I think it's
Like
like electronic press kit or something like that. And
I
so
thought it was like
yeah.
something with like a heart monitor.
Oh no 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 no. I'm all for
Like,
people geeking out on that, but
like I I don't know. Like the thing is, it's like I think you can kind of tell when people do that, and it's like I don't know, like
like it reads as inauthentic or
yeah, I guess. And it's like I'm not trying to like shit on anyone for like trying to like make it, It's like
yeah.
if that's like how you're gonna like, gain like be successful and like get your like stuff out into the world, then like that's great. Like I hope that, people succeed in like whatever they're trying to do. But I just like that's just not my
For sure.
background or like I have no like knowledge of that stuff. Like I guess I've worked with like because I do like video, it's like sometimes I work with marketing teams. So they'll like give me feedback about like the videos that I'm creating for like a company. They're like, okay, like we gotta like rope them in by like 3 seconds. Like, cause it's like if they're not
Yeah.
engaged by like the 3 second mark, then they're just gonna scroll away. So it's like damn. Like
Yeah.
so it's like I communicate sometimes with like marketing people who are like great. Like there's some great marketing people out there, but it's just like your I don't know what your analytics are like saying or what to
Yeah.
do. Like I know what works for me. Like I know that like like I think I'm resonating with people, like my
Yeah,
style and whatever. And I'm like, that's whatever. And if no one cared, then whatever. Like I'd still do it and share it. It's like I feel like there's always going to be somebody that,
totally.
likes what you're doing, or like, maybe just someone who's like just starting out and it might feel like no one cares. It's like just keep doing it. Like I think if you keep doing it and getting better, then like it will eventually come. Like it doesn't happen overnight.
Uh, Sort of extension of this that I've been also asking is like, do we as a culture value innate talent or like sort of like prodigies too much? Like,
Hmm.
because something like I really admire about your practice is that you like do it on a daily basis, and like I feel like people are willing to like sort of not do it regularly and then spin some sort of story about why it's still valuable like after the fact. And so I don't know, I think that's kind of bullshit. And so it's like you need to put in the time, and when people are like, oh yeah, this young prodigy, it's like, but like I kind of like, and I heard you in that podcast say something about wanting to hold off on writing a book till you had more life experience. I was like,
Right.
that's fucking reasonable. And so when somebody's like, oh yeah, this new kid is a genius, I'm like, I've never met a kid genius. So like,
Yeah, no,
um,
I hear you. I mean, I think like yeah, there might be some freak kid who's like, actually a genius at some young age, but probably most people they're just full of shit.
yeah,
It's like I believe that there could be a few out there, true geniuses that, it's like some kid writing like a symphony at age 5 or something, like
hmm,
some freak of nature.
yeah,
But I think you have to put the time in. Like you have to, because
hmm,
I think, like kind of like what I was saying before, like when I was sort of like maybe dealing with like depression or just like maybe low self-esteem, even like thinking like I couldn't do it, like maybe I was thinking like I wasn't good enough. It's like the same ideas that I'm putting out there, it's like they were always in my head, but I'd maybe make like 3 collages a year, and it's like they were good actually. Like I look at some of my early work and I'm like, that's actually great, like I'm proud of this, but it's just like I have nothing to show. Like it's just like 3 things. Like that's it. Like I mean,
hmm,
I work in this very fast way. Like some people will like hone like a project for a long time. That's not my way. Like I'm just like really pumping stuff out. Like it's just my personal style. Like that's me. But yeah, I think you have to work on it a lot and
hmm,
do it like at least almost every day. If it's not every day, like I know it's hard. Like people, have full-time jobs that are maybe like
right.
unrelated to like what they're doing. And so like I get it. And that's why I was kind of like determined, like when I fell kind of into video editing, like I was like, I want a job that's remote and that I can be my own boss. So, I'm a freelance video editor. So it's like, yeah, like I have clients and they're my boss temporarily. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, I might be with someone for like a week and it's just like, that's it. Then I move on to the next person and I can like turn down a job or accept a job and, I'm calling the shots. So
Hmm.
that's what I wanted. And like I found that in video editing. Like I was just trying to find that and this is where I found it. So, like I was like determined to do the remote thing like before the COVID
Hmm.
shit happened. Like, so when COVID happened, people were like, are you okay? Like, I was like, actually, like my life is exactly the same. Like, I was just like, I always worked remote. So like
Hmm.
this is normal. Like I do like, I get like groceries delivered and shit. I'm like, I'm like kind of a hermit. So like I was
This is just
just
so familiar.
I was just like, this is like the Joan Pope life right here. Like, so if you need help, I can like talk you through it.
Um, do you find that you go outside, or does your husband sort of like say, "Hey, have you gone outside?" And I ask this only from my perspective, having this experience.
Well, I do love the outdoors. So I spend a lot of
Okay.
time in nature and hiking and like I'm constantly, I'll go for a walk and like I'm constantly hiking and exploring in the woods and whatever. So that's like when I'm not inside, like at my computer working or whatever, I'm probably like wandering in the woods somewhere. So I do get outside, but I just don't like
Okay,
to be like around like crowded places.
for
And,
sure.
it's just not my style. I get like a little panicky when I'm like that. I guess that was kind of another thing. Like I felt like I have very bad anxiety when it comes to like traveling. So like I don't really
Mm,
like to be in the car. Like I don't even like being on like public transit. Like
hmm.
I get such bad anxiety. So I'm like, I don't want to take medication for this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just find a remote job because then if I can eliminate that, I will feel much better. And like so I just eliminated the stressor of like commuting and traveling and I'm good. Like so
Nice.
it's like I would drive to work and it's like I'm exhausted
Yeah.
because I just like had like a panic attack for 45 minutes like of
Yeah.
this drive. Like I can't do this. It's like by the time I get there, I'm sweating. I'm just like I look like a fucking mess. Like
You're
I
tied
can't
to a seat.
yeah, like I can't do this. So just like, then it's time to go home and I'm like stressed about even going home. Like, it's like I just don't like being in the car and or on the train or whatever. So I almost like never ever drive. Like really only if I have to. It's like literally like going to like the doctor or something.
Hmm.
And I walk or that's it. Like so remote work was like a must for me. Like I had to find something and it turned out that I liked it. So
Hmm. Yeah, I guess the one thing that I miss about commuting is like the sort of like time where you're like, I have to fill this with something, and so you're like, well, I'll read or like listen to an interview or whatever, and so like you have like a set time for like ingesting information, but I can find time when I'm remote by
right.
myself.
Like,
So,
one thing I did like the one like redeeming thing about commuting was like it was my time to like listen to music. Like,
mhm.
it's like that was like really how I connected to a lot of music was driving around in the car. But I'm like, I still listen to music like at home. Like, but there's something about like music, like listening to music in the car. It's like a different kind of listening. I can't really describe it, but maybe you know what I mean. It's just like
Mm.
where it's like you're driving but I don't know, just hits me different when I'm like
It's
driving and listening to
like a
music.
muzak type thing instead of music,
Yeah,
like
maybe. I don't
like
know. Like
background like sound or something.
it's in the background but it's like I don't know, just it's a different like form of listening, whereas like
For sure.
if I'm maybe like working on a collage listening to music, it's like I'm listening in headphones probably and it's different. I don't
Hmm.
know.
So I guess like the reason I was asking about the like prodigy thing and like getting into like how much somebody puts time in, like I feel like like quality sort of depends on quantity to some extent, and like I feel like we overvalue the final product and the story that's told about it. But I feel like there might be some opportunity with NFTs to like algorithmically put value on something based on the input, which might like incentivize people to actually put in the work. And like I'm curious if this like sounds interesting to you or like makes sense to you. I've just been like fiddling around with this idea of
Well,
like yeah.
an interesting thing that I just learned because like I see these collections, right? And it'll be like, let's say it's a bear, and there'll be like a
Mhm.
thousand different bears with like one's wearing sunglasses and one's wearing a hat, and then there's one with the hat and the sunglasses, and then whatever. And I was like, how the fuck is someone making 1,000 of these things? Like, do they hire like random people on like Fiverr or something? Like, how are they making it? It's just computer generated. Like, so that's
Mm,
what it is. It's just a code. Like, so I realize it's like they just make the different elements and then a computer code generates the 1,000. So I was like, okay, I thought I was like, because I was like, how are they doing it? Like
uh-huh.
I think like I have a pretty prolific output, but I can't do
Right.
that. Like, like how are they doing it? So now I know. And that's kind of the weird thing because I think some of the most successful NFT like projects or whatever are actually just like computer generated. So that's like this weird
Yeah.
thing where it's like then you have like these artists who are like really good, like, traditional artists, and it's like they're completely ignored. So like I don't know. Like
Hmm.
I don't know. And, you know, I just kind of like was like, okay, there's something here. Like there's this new technology, this new thing, and I don't really understand it, but I'm gonna just take the leap and like jump in and see what happens. So like when I first like got involved, it was like I got accepted to like Known Origin, and like I was like posting some stuff on there. I was like putting some stuff on OpenSea, and I was like, the Ethereum world is actually just like super oversaturated. I will never be able to make a dent because this is already a pretty established scene. It's just not gonna happen. And then like so I started like researching like other projects, and I came upon Algorand, and that's like this other blockchain. And I saw like on Twitter, Dart Room, it's an Algorand marketplace, and they were like, for our launch, we are looking for 20 artists to like be our featured artists for the launch. And I was like, okay, this is like how I can make a dent. If I'm one of these 20 artists and
Hmm.
it's like this new thing, it's like I think the first like Algorand marketplace, maybe that's not true, but it's one of the only ones. Um so I was one of the 20 artists, and I was like, I actually sold stuff on that marketplace. And another benefit of Algorand is that it doesn't have the environmental problems that
Hmm.
things like Ethereum has. Like it's carbon neutral. And, so it's like the same as like, using a computer or cell phone or whatever. It doesn't have like this horrible environmental impact. So like that's a huge criticism of these things. I get it. Like, but there's already like the technology is already advanced so that there's carbon neutral alternatives.
Hmm.
Algorand is one of them. So yeah, like I just
That's yeah.
I just
That's
like go ahead, go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, I guess that's an interesting thing that you brought up, and I've sort of forgotten about that altogether. The environmental thing, and I guess I was like almost kind of outright dismissive of it because I feel like it was being weaponized by people who just were finding reasons to dislike NFTs like most everybody.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it.
So I mean, I think part of it, it's like, okay, like I think like there are some legitimate concerns, but it's just like at the end of the day, it's like, is anyone complaining about like how much fuel it like
Yep.
takes to like launch like satellites into space that like make your cell phone work? Because I don't see anyone complaining about that. Is anyone complaining about those fucking Funko dolls? That's like, do you really need like a
Yeah.
figurine of like Axl Rose? Like, it's like those things are gonna last forever in a landfill at some point. Like no
Yep.
one's bitch. Like there's a million things. It's like, look in your refrigerator. How much plastic is in there? How much plastic is just around your house? How many
Yep.
toothbrushes have you used in a lifetime? Like, it's like all like because they're all in the landfill somewhere. Every
Yep.
toothbrush you've ever, it's like it goes on and on and on. And like, we should try to make changes and whatever. So it's like I'm not like knocking the like desire to make changes because I care about the environment, and
Hmm.
we should care about it. But I think part of that too, like something about it was just like, you're just pissed that you missed out on this.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
you think you
Yep.
missed out and you're pissed and you just want to like hate on everyone that is involved in it now. Like I've seen like, some really like nasty tweets. It's like, I can't believe this person says that they love nature, but they have an NFT. And it's like, yo, fucker, like you're ignorant as shit because it's like there's
Hmm.
already alternatives. It's like this is this is carbon neutral technology. It's just like it's better
Hmm.
than your fucking electric car that has a lithium battery. Like, how great do you think lithium mining is for the environment? Like, stop.
Yeah.
Like, you're just pissed. Like, you
Yeah.
missed out, and you see, like, I think part of it was just like they see like little pixel animals selling for millions of dollars, and they're like, shit. Like, I am thinking like, oh, I have like clout as an artist, or like that's like kind of the people that I think got the most pissed, like people that had like perceived success or like whatever, and then all of a sudden this like new wave of like people came and they were like making a killing, like and
Hmm.
they're just like, shit, like I've been struggling as an artist, and now this like person made like a, pixelated bunny, and they're a fucking millionaire. Like, how did that happen? Like, I get it. Like,
Yeah,
I get why people are pissed, but I'm just like, you know what, whatever. Like, this technology, it's not going away. It's already been around. Like, Bitcoin's like over 10 years old already. Like,
totally.
so
Yeah.
it's just like this stuff's not going away, and you might as well try learning about it now. Like, I think there's still a little bit maybe of like a learning curve about like using it, and
Yeah. Uh,
but you
were
got
you
you
were you
figure it
familiar with
out.
crypto beforehand? Like, were you literate already?
I mean, I had been probably like on the periphery of like trying to learn about it since about 2015. Like, that was like when I
Okay.
first started being interested, but like a little like scared maybe. It was like, I don't really understand this, and like I know that like there's something here,
Hmm.
like I was like using a social media site that like by just interacting with the site, you got tokens, and they're like connected to the Ethereum blockchain. So it's like you could like swap those tokens for like dollars. Like, you can like
Hmm.
actually like Facebook never did that for me. Instagram
Yeah.
doesn't do that. Like, when I like something, I don't nothing happens. They sell my
Hmm.
information. Like, and
Yeah.
then they make money. But it's like, why can't, like, if I'm interacting with the site and like the way this works, it's like if I get a token, like, why not? Even if it's just like a small amount. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I mean, this site, it's like I've been using it probably since like 2015. It's like maybe worth like $800 or something, like my account. But it's like that's more than I got from Instagram. Like,
Yep.
it's like, yeah, it's not breaking the bank, but it's like, yeah, maybe I'll just like use it on like a road trip or something, and pays for like gas and food and hotel
Hmm.
for like 2 nights. Like,
Yeah.
it's better than nothing. So it's like I I started becoming interested in it, and but like I don't really know anybody like that's like personally that's into crypto or any of this. So it's hard because it's like, there's a lot of scams out there. It's like I
Yep.
want to talk to someone I trust, but like everyone just is like, oh, I don't know. It's like fake money, or
Hmm.
Ponzi scheme. Like, these are all these like terms that are like get thrown around, and so I was just like on the periphery and like trying to learn. And then last year, like probably about like this time last year, I was like, you know what, like fuck it. Like, I'm just like gonna like make some like mint some NFTs, like maybe I'll like invest a little bit in some cryptocurrency, like let me just like see what happens. And I think if you actually like do research, you're like, oh, there's actually like some legitimate projects. Like, yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
there's some shit that's like, no, that is a scam, it is a Ponzi scheme, like it is
Yeah.
bullshit. But it's like, like I said, like this one project, Algorand, it's like created by an MIT professor. Like, he's like an award-winning awesome dude. Like, I don't think that guy is like out to make a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Like, like he's just
Yeah.
not.
I've definitely heard people call it a Ponzi scheme, which is interesting. And like, it's funny because like I've been into crypto for a while, not super seriously, but like that's sort of like my video editing in some ways is like looking at charts now. And like
Right.
that's like when I like had a normal job and then like I would suddenly make more money like almost instantaneously from like compared to a week of work. And it's like, what the fuck was I doing?
Yeah,
So
I mean, but like good for you. That's
yeah.
awesome. I don't know why people get mad about that. It's like, yeah, there's a risk. Like, you take a risk when you are like fucking
Hmm.
around with this shit, but it's like good for you. Like, why does anyone not like no one wants to just like work some job? Like, it's like unless you're doing like your passion, it's like because and not everyone is able to do that. Like, you might
Hmm.
have to just like take some jobs that like you don't really like, but you have bills to pay. Like, it's how it is. And it's like, if you find a way to be financially free, that's awesome. Like,
Hmm.
good for you. Like, people should be happy. And it's like, you're more in a position than to maybe like help other people. Like,
Yeah.
there's that too. It's like, I don't know why people are just haters on other people's success. It's like, I want everyone to have success and not have to worry about like, do I pay the rent or like buy groceries? Like I've been
Mhm.
there too long and I know other people that are in that position and like fuck that. Like I just don't want to live. I don't want to live like that.
With the like the non-fungibility thing, like I feel like people hadn't heard the word fungibility since it was like some sort of like test word or something when they were a kid or
Yeah,
something.
like
That
the SATs.
then suddenly it's a word that everybody's supposed to know, and like I feel like the whole NFT thing is being described in this really weird way that makes people dislike it. But when you're saying like you were just like continuing to do what you were doing as if it was your job until it became your job. Um, my sense is that like if everybody puts in the time, they will eventually succeed, and like something like some sort of beautiful, complex, emergent thing will come out of it. Do you feel like that's true, or do you feel like there's anybody that, for some reason, was born incapable of being successful at art and what they want to do?
I mean, I think that like if you're doing it, like you'll get there eventually. Like it might, some people like, yeah, there might be like a natural knack for it, and so like success might come a little earlier for them, but they still have to put in the effort. And I think, I mean, I think I have like a natural like eye for,
Hmm.
certain things. Like that's something I didn't learn. I just kind of always had it, like just a good eye for visuals. And but it's like on its own, it doesn't matter. Like I had to learn other skills to really make use of that. So I think anybody, like if there's something that they want to do, they should do it and do it until it becomes the thing that you make a living off of. Like, isn't that the point? Like, don't waste your life on, bullshit, slaving
Hmm.
away for somebody else. Like,
Totally.
it's like do that thing. And it's like, yeah, sometimes there's situations and you got to just like you might have to like wait tables for a while and like, whatever. There's like no shame in that and like do it, like
Hmm.
make your living, but like you need to have an exit plan and like, just you have to be determined to make it in whatever you're trying to do. Like I was determined to be an artist. Like,
Hmm.
it's like at a certain point, it's like I just realized that this was the thing that was just like I said, the road that like opened for me. And it's like, all right, well, like I am doing this. And like if you want to actually like move forward on that road, you have to, like pedal basically. Like,
Yeah,
you're not gonna go or like press the fucking gas. Like you're not gonna just accelerate forward
totally.
without putting in the effort. Like, why wouldn't you want to put in the effort?
Hmm.
Like, that's,
Um,
it's like I want to produce things, like, I want to create all these works because it's like if the ideas just live in my head, well, who cares? Like,
yeah.
because I'm gonna live and die and then those ideas are gone. But it's like if like in my lifetime I can share them, well then it's like maybe I actually like connected. And that just goes right back into like, what I was saying before. It's like that to me is like the fucking point of living. Like, if you don't have a connection with other people, then like,
Hmm. So I heard somebody describe NFTs in this way that I thought was fun, which is basically that's just an abstract container for non-fungibilityness, which I feel like is a better description than whatever the fuck people are saying. But I feel like that's like the starting point, and then it's like, what can't you do with it? And it's like I'm thinking of like the Wu Tang album where it was like there was the one copy or
oh,
whatever
right.
Kelly bought, and so like just thinking of what you could do computationally, like for instance, you could like have algorithmic scarcity enforced, or like lack of reproducibility, or like I guess you could delete something essentially, like have something that's self-terminating, and sort of like that's like this whole weird realm of like what does that imply for value if you like have something that is only going to have a limited amount of experience that can be had. But at the same time, there's something to be said about keeping things around. So like, I don't know, do you see sort of value one way or another in terms of being able to like delete something, or be able to like sustain like I feel like there's like kind of like a pollution problem aesthetically in the world right
Right.
now. So I don't know. Is that something that resonates with you or sounds intriguing?
Well, okay, yeah, it's like once it's out there, it's gonna live on that blockchain forever. I mean, there you can burn it
Hmm.
and you can get rid of it, but you have to like pay a transaction fee, which, by the way, if you're using Algorand, is a really small fee versus, Ethereum. But I don't know. It's like, I guess it's like it is this weird like record of everything. And that's like almost how I want to use it. But
Hmm.
right now it's like, when I make things, it goes like on Twitter and Instagram first, but it's like I could get deleted off that shit like any day. It's like
Hmm.
I'm surprised I'm still on Instagram. Like I've gotten many warnings and it's like all my stuff could be gone, but if it's like on a blockchain, then no one can censor it. It's, Mark Zuckerberg's not like, ooh, it's a nipple. Like,
Hmm.
you have more control over your work and where it lives. So, that's an appealing thing too. Like even if you're not even in it for like you don't have to sell anything. You can just put it there. Like you can mint the item or you can put like writing, poetry, whatever it is, like and it can live there and no one can fuck with that.
Hmm.
So that's cool, I guess. And it's even like a record of like the first like place where it exists. So you can like, you know, deal with like people stealing work or whatever. It's just like
Hmm.
this is the first time it like ever appeared on the internet. Like this is the record of it. So like that's kind of cool. Like I mean, I've been putting up stuff that's just out there already. So I guess you
Gotcha.
can't really like prove it, but
Hmm.
it's and I've seen people's like work getting stolen and whatever. But it's like I think if people really did use it, like as soon as it's made, it's minted, then you can like prove that like you're truly the owner of the work.
Mm. So permanence is important to. I guess I'm thinking of. I might have the story somewhat incorrect. I'm not sure, but like, I think David Lynch in the Twin Peaks Return, like, there was a voice for like the little tree character thing. I don't know if you've seen
Right.
it, and I'm pretty sure he basically like deleted from history who the person was. Like, it like nobody knows except for him who did the voice, and I thought that that was kind of like a trip because to like fully delete something is like an interesting philosophical implication. So I don't know, just with like the Wu Tang thing, like having such scarcity of it, like you know, I don't know if there's. I think there's value to like being like, this is the only person that listened to it and they can never listen to it again. It was this thing. It's like like ephemeral at that point, but. It's interesting that you're interested in the permanence, which I also see the value in.
I mean, I do like things that are like transient also like but I guess with my work it's like I worked really hard on this. So
Yeah, yeah.
I would like to preserve it like somehow. Like, it's I guess like I think of like transience more like in terms of experiences. Like
Mm-hmm.
years and years ago, I lived in an apartment and it was this like big loft, and I used to have a lot of like shows and parties and whatever. And I remember like, at the like I knew it was like the height of it. Like, I knew I wasn't gonna stay in this spot forever. And I knew that there was just like one night and I'm like, this is like the height of it. And a really good friend of mine, he was like, he was having a great time. He's like, I want to do this here and this. Like, he wanted to make it like bigger than it was. I'm like, no, man, like, this is it. Like, this is like the golden moment. It's never
Mm-hmm.
actually going to be better than this. Like, just enjoy it for what it is. And it's like, maybe it gets better, but like, I think that this is like right here, the sweet spot. And it's not going to last. Like, this, like, era of our lives, it's just like, enjoy it while you have it. Like, even, as like, when I perform, like I have not played live, like even like before COVID. It was like a good year before I was doing it. But like when I was playing shows, it was like I was playing one after another. I was like playing a lot, and I was like, this is not going to last forever. Like, this is it. And I would tell people, I'm like, if you want to come see me, now is the chance, because I am not doing this forever. Like, I'm going to
Hmm.
just like do this for like a year where I'm going to play a fuck ton of shows, and then I'm going to like disappear off the face of the planet. So, like, this is it. So I think of like things like that in a more like transient way. I mean, obviously, time is fleeting. So, it's
Hmm.
gonna
Yeah.
go away as it passes. But it's like, I guess I think of more eras of my life in this way of like, I'm not gonna last forever. Like,
Hmm.
so when it comes to like experiences like that, like a performance or whatever, it's like, this is it.
Hmm. And I
And
guess a performance is more what I'm thinking because, like, I mean, I feel like you're creating pieces, and like, I'm more of a musician, and like, I barely do visual stuff, but like, so like, in a way, you could make an album sort of be, a momentary thing that only some people got to experience, and like, I guess in the case of those performances, like, would you rather some memory of it surface on YouTube that somebody got from an iPhone camera, or just have the memories that you hear about and eventually die off when those people die?
I would prefer for them to just be experienced live. Like, it's like, put your fucking phone away
Hmm.
and just experience this. Like, so it's like sometimes people ask, they're like, are there any like videos of like your shows? I was like, no, you should have fucking been there. Like, come
Yeah.
out next time. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Like, not that I've taken, not that I've really seen, like maybe someone makes an Instagram story or whatever it is, but I always feel like, put the phone away and just like
Right, right, right.
enjoy it, because this is it. Like, this is the only time it's gonna happen. And even like, when I record my music, it's a very like in the moment thing. Like, I don't really do a lot of like meddling with it after. It's like, I record it.
Hmm.
This is it. Like,
Right.
unless there's some major like fuck up, it is what it is. Like, sometimes, like, if there's words, like, I'll like mispronounce something or like stutter or something, that's in there. Like, it's
Hmm.
just like, because this is like in the like realm of, what is it called, auto tune, like in the world of like
Hmm. Yeah,
auto
yeah.
tune. It's like, fuck that. Like, it's like, I'm a human being, and like, I want you to know that. Like, so I'm leaving those little errors in there, because it's like, that's what to me makes it perfect. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
some people want to take it out, or it's like, I have this one recording, and it's like, I was looping something on guitar, and I was using a bow, and I actually like dropped the bow, but it's in the loop, and it's just in there. Like, it's just like the sound of the bow dropping is just, it's in the loop, and I used it, and I'm just like, yeah, it's part of it. Like, it was that moment, and I record it, and that's it. And I release it, and like, I can't overthink it, because if
Hmm.
I like start tinkering with it after, it's like, it's never going to come out. I will never release it, because I'm going to start being too critical of myself. And that's how I feel with all my art, like, especially the music, but even a lot of the visuals. I'm like, I get to a point, I'm like, I have to just like put it out there, like, get it away from me, like,
Hmm.
just goodbye, and, ship it off into the world. And then I try not to really think about it anymore. Like,
Yeah. I think so, like, when somebody pays for a piece of art or like pays for a concert, like, I think there's something interesting there where they're like essentially like, I feel like they're going to be more inclined to pay attention closely because they spent money on something like they
right.
like and so I guess like if something was able to self-destruct, I almost wonder if it would increase the attention because we're in this age where like I feel like people listen to the first half of the hook and then they're done with the song and they skip to the next one because
Right.
it's all free on whatever and they're just kind of like looking around for what's the next little thing to listen to a fraction of. So.
Well, something that's like very weird that I noticed was, if I release a new album, like let's say I release something tomorrow, new people, brand new people will check it out. But if I
Hmm.
post an album that like I made last year, those new people are like, oh, it's a year old. Fuck this. Like, and it's like, but it's new to you. I don't
Hmm.
understand. I'm like, I listened to things from 50 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
like wherever. Like, if it's new to me, it's new to me. Like, why they want like this? thing that like just came out, and it's just like, what? Like, why can't you check out this thing that you never heard before, even though it's, whatever, 6 months old, a year old? And I do wonder sometimes, talking about just people listening to the hook and moving on. I have some really long songs.
Hmm.
They're these like droney songs. I'm like, is anyone really listening to all 20 minutes? Like, probably not, but whatever. I used to make really short songs and people would be like, I wish this was longer. So I'm like,
Hmm.
whatever. Like, you get what you get.
Hmm. By the way, we're at an hour-ish, and I'm not sure. Are you able to chat for a little bit longer, or do you
Yeah,
want to wrap it up?
we can go a little longer.
Okay, cool. I won't keep you too long. But I guess I wanted to ask a little bit about sort of sacred stuff. Moving on from NFTs a little bit, and a little bit about sexuality stuff. And so, like, I appreciate that you sort of use like sex and death as a duality. I recently read that in a Peter Carroll book, and I was like, huh, because everybody says life and death.
Right.
Um, and I just thought that was an interesting approach to talk about it that way, and how there's like a generative process to sex that I feel like has been sort of like lost to a lot of people. Like they don't think of it that way. They think about it as something that is either repressed or like kind of, like dirty or whatever. But
Right.
there's a very like wholesome and sacred sense of it in your work. And I'm just curious to hear what you think about that. I mean, yeah.
Well, it's like, okay, so when people like, if they just ask, like, what is your work about? I probably would just say life and death, because it's like maybe easier to say it that way. Because it's like, that's what I mean when I say sex. It's like,
Mhm.
that's the origin of your life. Like, that's how you got here. It's like, no one really likes to think about their parents having sex, but that's what happened.
Mhm.
Like, like, so I guess like that's, it's a way of saying life and death, but maybe in a way that's like a little more provocative. And, people are like, wait, those two things, like when you juxtapose them, it's weird or something like it. People like, I don't know. I get really weird reactions to that. But yeah, I mean, I do think of it as like, it's not just about like getting off. There's like the
Right.
creative aspect to it. I'm like, it seems like people have forgotten that that's like the generation of life is through sex. It's like people just think of it as like this pleasure thing. And like that's part of it and it's nice, but I'm just like, it's also like how we like create new human beings.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like will think of it as even broader in terms of like of creation just in general. So it's like I just see like the sex like force is just like creation itself, and in like any way, like where it's like even just like creating of like art, it's like it's sexual almost. It's like I'm giving birth to like this beautiful thing. Like
Hmm.
each art piece is like a child, and or it's like, I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, totally.
it's,
Yeah.
it's like this creative thing. And so I'm connected to it in that way, as like the reproductive like nature of sex. Whereas like I think a lot of sexy art or whatever that you see, it's very not
Hmm.
connected to that. And some of my work is just like more erotic, but it's like I always try to like tie it into like also the like reproductive function, because I'm like, it's both. Like it is both, and they don't have to be like separated.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I guess it kind of even comes from like a personal experience. Like I feel sometimes like in the moment, like I see like life and death like flashing before my eyes, like in the moment of like orgasm. It's like I feel like I understand it all, like, and it's hard to explain, and it's like what is happening in my mind like just transcends language. But that's what like inspires all of my art. It's like I'm trying to like communicate that moment through art and like send the message that way, because I can't really explain what I'm seeing, but it's like in that brief moment, it's like I understand life and death, and it's like I hope to have other people like see it too, and like maybe if you look at my art enough, like you'll start to put the pieces together and like also
Hmm.
experience what I'm seeing, because I would like other people to see that.
You also mentioned like that your art deals with like natural time cycles, and so like I've done this little presentation on the music of menstruation, and like I like to pride myself on like being like a man that has like reverence for it, and I feel like you surely have a different sort of insight into that. So I'm wondering, can you enrich my sort of view of this and what is sacred about that cycle?
Well, I guess that like I think of it maybe a little broader as like the just aging and like the life
Mm,
cycle of a woman is like, your childhood, like before that time happens. And then it's like once, you're mature, like, go through puberty, it's like it changes, like, it's like every throughout my entire like, sexually active life, it's like I have every single time I had sex, I had to think in the back of my mind, like, I might create a new life, like right
hmm.
now. Like, and it's just like, I am not like disconnected from that. Like, some people, like, I guess don't think of it, like, but I'm like, I did every time. Like, it's just
Mm.
like, and it's not like necessarily like
Yep.
bad or that I was like scared of it, but it was just like, that might happen. And like, that's kind of crazy. Like, cause it's just like, wow, creating a new person, like, it's kind of a big deal. Um, and then, it's like as I'm getting older, it's just like eventually like that part of my life will end. And yeah, as like, my fertility ends and turning into like an old woman. And so I think, I guess, of like natural cycles and a bigger scale, like where just like
Gotcha.
the life cycle. But in terms of like menstruation, I mean, it's kind of like I really like feel it. Like there's like times where it's like I feel more inspired or like I feel less inspired. And it's like it feels tied to like my menstrual cycle. And it's kind of annoying. Like but it's like at the same time, it maybe is like the wheel that's like driving me. Like that cycle is like pushing me like forward, but it's like sometimes annoying. Um Also just because I was like kind of dealing with endometriosis, which like is brutal and really hard. Like no one wants to like diagnose it, so it's just kind of
Interesting.
rough. But
Yeah. Um, I feel like yeah, I mean, I hear people describe it in the sense of being annoying, but like my wife is always sort of like had some sort of like a sense like she's given me a sense of it being sacred, and so like I feel like I've luckily inherited that, but it is a sort of interesting wave to surf. So
it's
um
it's like it connects me to like something. Like I feel like I it does connect me to like some kind of like natural rhythm. So in that way it's sacred, but sometimes you're just like, ah, I really feel like shit. Like I don't want to wake up. Like Um, but I know what she means, and
mhm.
like I get that. And it's like it's also like brutal. Like I've struggled like getting pregnant, and I've had a couple miscarriages, and it's like
Mm,
so it becomes this like symbol of like, it's like of loss, like really. It's like, and I feel like I have to like confront that on a monthly fucking basis. It's just like
mm.
this reminder of like what I lost. And it's hard. I mean, that's like a really really fundamental like inspiration, I guess. That's like that's where a lot of this, like all my art is like coming from. It's like that loss, or I've actually more than once, but those losses were just like devastating and like just totally brutal to me. Like I was just, just completely like wiped out. And I just like the only way I could cope with it is it's just like I felt like I went through a period of just like I can't even stop crying. And it's just like it can't live like this. So I have to take this like pain and transform it into something that I need to create something.
Hmm.
It's like because I was supposed to create something and it didn't work out. So I still have to create that thing. Like something needs to be created. So yeah, I'm just like,
Hmm.
that was like, I think a huge turning point in my life, like when I first like had that experience. And yeah, I'm just like going, doing as much as I can. And it's like, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, am I just like running away from like the grief of that? But, whatever. This is how I deal with it.
Yeah, I suppose sacred things have a huge weight to them. What do you think is like if this is sort of like the opposite side of sacredness, what do you think of that as like because that's like that's a very like severe experience to have and thanks for sharing it. So I mean like what was the other side of that then of sacredness?
What do you mean?
Like I mean like I feel like sacredness has like a very like positive tone to it. Like it's like
Okay,
oh
yeah.
sacred. It's like you're describing something of like a lot of weight and so but it's like still in the sacred realm but
Well,
like yeah.
I feel like, like when I connect with just nature and the natural world, like I'm just so blown away. Like sometimes when I just look at the night sky and see the stars, and I'm like, I am so small. Like I am just this tiny, tiny part of the whole universe. And it's really mind blowing. Like if you just sit there for a while and look, or just sometimes like I'll just go outside and I will watch the wind blow. Like I like doing that. And it's like just watching the wind blow like through the grass. And then it's like all of a sudden, like you're sitting there long enough and like birds are like surrounding you because they don't really like notice that you're there anymore. And like, just watching like wildlife and like being in nature. It's like that to me is just like I don't know how people don't feel like the sacredness. It's like, how do you not see that this is like perfect? Like, this is
Hmm.
all just like perfection. And here I am, like part of it. And yeah, I don't know, but it ties back into like, that darker side of it because in nature there's life and death all the time.
Right.
Just even just like the movements of the seasons or just like, you come across a dead thing, but it's like that
Mhm.
is gonna create like new life. Like it's going to rot and then something new is gonna grow out of it. Like, right now my garden is at the end of its life and it's just next year it's gonna be awesome again. Like,
Hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Um, I feel like I'm like big into like animal rights stuff and like it's interesting to like be focused on something like death and have to like come to terms with it and uh yeah, I mean it's there's nothing inherently wrong about it, but like it is rough to sort of come to terms with. So that's interesting. Okay. Well, I feel like I don't need to ask you too many more things. I'll just end with a stupid question, which
okay.
I ask because I'm pretty sure that I saw that you're on TikTok, and that
I
is
got banned.
ah, for nudity.
Yes, it was fucking Adam and Eve, which is, I just think is so great, actually. Like, I got fucking banned because I used like a Renaissance Adam and Eve in a stop motion video. And I was just like,
Mhm.
wow. Like, I just can't believe it. Like, expulsion from TikTok.
Interesting, and thus it's on OnlyFans now.
Yeah, it's like it straight up is. Like I'm
That's
just
really
like
pathetic, though. That like that's like something that would happen, and I heard something similar to that, and that's insane. Because like
I
what?
got banned on Tumblr too for the same shit. And the best part is like on Tumblr, like one of the like, images that it was Adam and Eve with the fucking fig leaves. I'm like, it's censored. It's censored with the fig leaves. Like, so what the hell? Like, you just don't like me. Like,
Interesting. Yeah. I have been unwilling to engage with it entirely, and like I've heard some smart people be like, "Oh yeah, you need to be on TikTok." I'm like, "Nope,
mm,
fuck no."
okay, so
But
here, let me tell you about TikTok.
please.
It's so much garbage. There's just so much garbage. It's like a lot of crap. Like, it's just like people who are like, honestly, it's like, it's kind of sad. Like, because I think there's people who are like just like mentally ill, and it's like this
Mm,
like feeds like some of their like problems, like it's just like some weird bad shit. Then you got like
yeah,
kids eating laundry detergent and like things like that, you know, like.
forgot about that. Yeah.
But I in the short time that I was there were some cool people. So like if you look, like, you know, you can find some like people who make cool content, and you know, they're out there, but there's a lot of garbage, and it's honestly not worth it. It's
Okay.
just, yeah, it's like you're not really missing anything. And I thought I was making really cool stuff. Like I was just doing little like stop motion videos of like my collages, and people liked them. Like they were kind of like, people were like, oh, this is actually like interesting content. I got banned permanently.
Wow.
I appealed. I was like, this is a painting that, like, you know, is in a museum. Like you can bring children to, like, it's not like 18 plus to like get into like the Met or whatever. Like,
Right.
or this could be like in a textbook, like a high school history textbook for like, you know, history or whatever. I'm like, this is not porn. Like I'm like, have you ever been to a porn site? Because this is not what it
Yeah.
is. Except like my OnlyFans now has it, but it's like,
Do you think that that type of thing was enforced like by like a some sort of algorithmic like AI type thing, or do you think that was somebody who was like, I don't like this? Like, do you think it was a human that made the judgment, or
I don't know. I mean, on TikTok, it was probably a robot, but I
okay?
think on Instagram, like, I don't know. Like, sometimes I think it's
Mm,
like the algorithm, sometimes I think it's like a moderator, but I'm
interesting.
not sure. Like, I'm not really sure, but yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
that's
rough.
hilarious.
Like,
I'm sorry that happened. That's absurd, especially
I
given just like how absurd like the rest of the internet is like just dripping with disgusting stuff. So like,
Yeah, well, it's like you could be on TikTok where like you can, like, I've seen like, you know, pretty young girls like wearing, you know, skin colored like leggings. It's like you might as well be naked.
right.
You know, it's just like, and you know, whatever, like if that's what they want to do, like that's fine. But like, why
Hmm.
can't I have Adam and Eve in a stop motion video? Like, you know, it's like, why can't I do my thing? But I think I had gotten like a couple other, I had gotten warned before, but that was like the nail in the coffin. And it was called Expulsion from Eden. And it also shows like, you know, the concept of it was, it's Adam and Eve is holding an iPhone, a red Apple iPhone. You see the little apple like in her hand. So it's also like a jab at like technology. And I'm like, maybe they just are like mad. Like, I don't know. I think they're just mad about the nipple, but
That's funny. Shit. Well,
you're not missing
cool.
anything. Don't even sign up. But
Yeah, I won't.
it sucks. I mean, it's just, I like Twitter. I think Twitter is always like kind of panned out to be
Yeah.
like the best one. Like I've been off Facebook for, I have a Facebook account that I never use. I literally just have it so I can have a Temple of Saturn page so that when I
Hmm.
play a show, people can tag it and they're like, oh, invite people. I'm like, no, I'm not even logging in, because you know what? When I used to like do like through the Facebook events, it's like no one ever fucking came. No one
Hmm.
came. I don't even do that now. And I'm like, I just posted on Twitter and people actually show up. So I don't know what the Facebook event thing is, like why it doesn't work, but like no one comes like when you
Hmm.
do it, like advertise it that way. So I just post about my shows on Twitter and I get a pretty decent turnout. So Twitter is a lot better. I always like I've made like some pretty good connections on Twitter. Like I just feel like I find easier to find like-minded people or just like interesting artists or
Hmm.
thinkers, musicians, you know, it's just a better space. Instagram, it kind of sucks. Like I just post into the void basically.
Hmm.
It's like I'm posting and I don't spend that much time on there, but Twitter is like probably live on Twitter in terms of like social media. It's like that's where I am most of the time. So you
That's
know,
me as well.
it's kind of just the better spot. And like, I mean, I still meet people who are like, I don't get it. It's just like people posting their breakfast. I'm like, it's really not like that anymore. Like, I know it was like that for a time, but I'm
Mhm.
like, it's really not the posting the breakfast anymore.
Yeesh. Well, your website is joanpope.com,
Yeah.
right? And you're on Bandcamp, you're on Twitter, you're on Instagram a little bit. Any other things that people should check out for my
Um,
huge audience?
I'm on Vimeo, like vimeo.com/Joan Pope. That's where a lot of my video stuff lives. Um, but yeah, Twitter is like usually like a good place to like stay up to date, and I guess Instagram's like a good spot to sort of see it all in one
Do you still
thing. But
do you still have access to that like video gallery thing, the VR gallery? I think I saw. I think that was you.
yeah, I do. Okay, so the one VR gallery I made is like cyber.io or something.
Okay.
That was like linked to my OpenSea account, but I burned all of my stuff. Like,
Okay.
so it probably is empty. But I did like that was like connected to like the NFT thing. But before that, there was what is it called? Artsteps.com. I
Hmm.
set up a couple like virtual galleries, and that like anyone can just it has nothing to do with NFTs. It's just anyone can put art in a little virtual gallery, and those still exist. So those are still out there. And there it's you don't need like a VR headset or anything like that. You could just like view on your computer or whatever. So you don't
Gotcha.
you don't need like a Oculus or anything.
Cool. All right. Well, cool. Well, anything else you want to say, or do you want to just say goodbye and sign off?
All right, yeah, goodbye. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me, and
Great talking to you.
yeah,
Thanks for being here.
likewise. All right,
Cool.
thanks.
Yeah. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.